and we're off to the prologue. So Celeste is for those that don't know, I should say also, that Celeste is a precision platformer here, where we have a couple of basic mechanics. We can run, we can jump and climb. For now, we will see the runners jumping a lot because jumping is a little bit faster than just running. It saves about 2 frames per jump, and it's free time save, so why wouldn't you do it? Now also an acaroline screen here as she reaches here at the end. The magical blow will swoop down and give her the ability to dash. And this dash, of course, allows us to do quite a lot of really cool stuff. So coming up, we're going to start with Second City here. So I'm just going to go through the basic mechanics here for the people that may not know about them yet. So we're going to have dash jumps, which is a dash followed by a jump, gives you a nice bit of both height and speed. There's hyper jump, which is a downward diagonal dash followed by a jump, which gives not as much height as a dash jump, but it gives a whole lot more speed. So that's going to be used quite a lot. And then there's also, on a acaroline screen right now, a wall bounces, which is an upward dash next to a wall or platform, followed by a jump, which gives a really nice height to your wall jumps as well as some extra speed. Realtyz with a nice reverse wave dash there to clear those spikes. So there's also wave dashes, which is basically the same as a hyper dash, but you start it from the air. So you jump and then downward diagonal into the ground and then jump again. Named after the Smash Bros technique that does basically the same thing. So far, the runners are about 1 room apart here. Pretty solid first chapter so far from both of the runners. So acaroline opting to go for the block there. See how Realtyz just goes for an extended hyper there. So you can extend and also reverse all your sort of dash abilities except the wall bounce. So extending means that you wait long enough after the dash to jump so that you actually get your dash back when you have used the hyper dash, for example. Realtyz is having a bit of trouble there with that little corner jump there. Let's see. There we go. Gets it very nicely done. Acaroline has now finished up. Realtyz is going for the slow right here with the double slippers instead of the neutral wall jumps like Acaroline did. Still going to finish up at a 2:11 out of Second City. So about 10 seconds behind Acaroline, but still both runners having a fairly solid first chapter. Now both runners are moving here into Old Side, and we're going to have 1.5 new mechanics, I guess. Well, at least one mechanic, which are the dream blocks, where we're going to see in the next screen here on our acaroline side. So these dash blocks, you dash into them, and then you dash through them as long as you can, or until you hit a wall. But if you do hit a wall, you get splattered. Not very nice. What you saw Acaroline did there in the very first room of the dream blocks was that when you skip the cutscene, you keep your right position. So by having your right position inside the dream block, you can actually skip the cutscene in the dream block, sort of, and then dash immediately. Realtyz also going for the same thing there. Very nicely done by both of them. Acaroline now going into the second section here, which is the Battleline Chase, where Battleline will copy your every move with a 3-second delay, which in these first rooms here, will not be that big of an issue. However, as we progress through here, we're going to have to do some backtracking to actually collect all these blue coins to unlock certain doors. And if you see blue coins in the room, then the runners will have to collect all of them in order to actually progress. So here's the first bit of backtracking here for Acaroline. Ooh, nice, gets through those battle lines there after collecting that coin. This last room is a pretty long, or pretty tall room, I guess. Long fall, and then this little section here, which has some sort of backtrack, or a little bit of backtracking. There's a couple of different strats you can do there, some faster than others, of course, but Acaroline's playing it safe there, which is very respectable here in a tournament race after all. Realtyz there. Ooh, as a running with the battle lines there, pretty unfortunate. This room can be a bit weird if you don't get the exact moves that you sort of want. Oh, still having a bit of trouble there. Let's see if he decides to go for a safer strat instead. Nope, he keeps going. Nice dash there to get through. Acaroline has now started up with the wake section here, so this is just a bunch of pretty precise movement here. A lot of hypers and dash jumps to get through this, which are pretty precise. because you don't want to get stuck on random corners, pillars, and the likes. But that was a very, very clean chapter 2 there from acaroline. Finishing up, I think that was like 214, I believe. So a very solid ult set overall. Realtyz now also starting up the exchange, so lost a bit of time, but nothing that he can't come back from. Realtyz can. And acaroline is now started. Oop, accidentally runs in with a dust bunny there. Acaroline started with the resort here. So resort is the cycle-based chapter here of Celeste, where these little dust creatures that you saw, they're in the start at least, are on set cycles in pretty much all the rooms. And there's also 2 variants of the cycles for pretty much all the rooms. One upon entering the room, and one if you die in it. So not only will the death cost you the actual death, but may actually have force you to take a worse cycle unless you decide to reset the room, which might happen at some points. We'll see how the run goes for these for the runners. And I also forgot to explain keys. Keys unlock doors. It's not much more to it than that. Acaroline so far having a pretty solid run overall. I don't think she has died yet. Actually, that one does need to start, but playing it fairly safe and is going through these first chapters here in a very smart way overall, I'd say. Realtyz here in the first room of resort now, so not too far behind at all. We'll see how they go, or how they do as the race progresses here. Now we're going to see acaroline starting with the huge mess section. So we have these boxes, we have towels, and we have books absolutely everywhere in this room, and it's our duty now to clean them up, apparently. So we're going to have to go into 3 different sections based on 3 blocks, pretty much, where the runners will have to go through the rooms and then press a button at the end. So also heavily cycle-based. We'll see acaroline, once again, going pretty safe and pretty smart through this first room there. Nice little cycle skip there. Oh, that was pretty nice. I should try that. Here we see the first instance of a spike jump there. So spikes in this game have this property where if you're moving away from them, you can't actually get hit by them. So by wall jumping on the little corner beneath the spikes, you will be moving away from them the entirety of the time you're actually in their hitbox, so you will not die. Used a couple of times, I think about 3 in this run in total, and it's a very neat trick. Realtyz now also entering huge press here, so he is about 30 to 40 seconds behind acaroline at this point, which is not bad at all. It's very very doable for him to make a comeback here. Acaroline there finishing up with the second button as Realtyz is moving into the first here of the boxes for him. And you can pick these paths in any way you like, but we have chosen, or most runners have chosen to do it in the way that is closest to a Shiro after the rooms, because you don't want to spend too much time going through that big room. So by going to wherever Shiro is, it's going to save you a little bit of time in between each chapter. Realtyz there getting the first button. Meanwhile, acaroline in the last room there, and it's about to hit the third button now. I'm going to get a time here when acaroline moves into elevator shaft to see the difference between each runners. So we have a 7:52 there for acaroline moving into the elevator shaft. So we can see what Realtyz is like when he gets out as well. And these couple rooms here in the elevator shaft are pretty long and have some fairly interesting cycles, I guess. So they can be fairly punishing if you're not careful. Also some pretty cool strats overall. In the next review for acaroline, I hope that we're going to see the chain hypers. Let's watch. Oh, gets run into the second. So you can do 4 chain hypers here. You're going to go for it again. Nicely done there in the second try. Pretty precise trick there. You have to jump for a pretty particular amount of time with each jump. So it can be a bit tricky to get through there, but acaroline doing it very nicely there on the second try. The death cycle is also usually easier there for some reason. Something with the timing, but Gets through it in a very nice way. And now she's moving into the sheer fight there. We have Realtyz there at 8:48 coming into the elevator shaft, so about a minute behind. We'll see how they are after Resort as well. So the Oshir fight here, or I would say fight. Oshir wants to fight. We don't want to fight because we need to speed on this game. So we will be running away from him. And he attacks, as everything else in this chapter, on a cycle. Tracks your vertical position, sends out a lightning bolt to indicate that he's about to attack, which is very nice of him. And then actually attacks, which is not as nice of him. So far, Caroline having an incredibly solid Resort. I think just the one up. Actually, that was a third death. I saw one before in the other shaft. Thank you, Chocolate. I did not know that, actually. Commentator's curse is always real here. So now we have Realtyz also starting up with your sheer fight. Meanwhile, Caroline in the very last room finishes up that very clean Resort up. Was that a 5:42, I think? Which is an incredibly good time for Resort. So 5:47, actually, I think. 10:05 coming out there of Resort. I'm going to write that down real quick. Realtyz now also has a couple rooms left there to go before finishing up with your Shiro fight. Meanwhile, we have Caroline in the Golden Ridge section already. So for Golden Ridge, we have new mechanics, as is going to be tradition. We have green bubbles that act like a secondary dash. We have wind that acts like wind, pushes you around. And we also have clouds that for some reason acts like trampolines. And there's also going to be both white and pink clouds. There was Realtyz actually retrying in the very start of this last room because of the death cycle being a little bit better, at least for him. There's a couple of runners that do that because they prefer the death cycle that much. So, ooh, barely squeezes beneath there. Gets out there at 10:58, about 53 seconds behind going into Golden Ridge there. So, not too bad at all. And a very solid sheer fight and solid Resort overall there from Realtyz. Acaroline, they're doing a nice extended dash jump there on the first cloud to actually skip the middle cloud with the height from the cloud trampoline. And we're also going to see, I believe, in the next room here, we're going to see the first instance of arrow blocks, but we're not actually going to use them until a couple rooms. So the arrow blocks, when you make contact, will start moving in the direction that they're pointing. And if they have an open end, like you will see on the top of this arrow block, you can actually move it. So we're also going to see Acaroline here going for a little bit of an auto scroll skip. Nice extended hype. Ooh, actually doesn't get the momentum from the air block and falls a bit short there. So a common thing in this game is using momentum from moving blocks to gain a huge amount of speed. Having a bit of trouble there with the auto scroll skip, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get to see it now. And it's used for a couple of skips. This is the first instance of it, where you get a huge amount of speed to your hyper dashes or other dash abilities in general. To clear certain areas. Acaroline deciding there to go for the safe strat. Very respectable after failing a couple times. You don't want to get too tilted just because you fail a skip a number of times. Ooh, a bit of trouble there with that long room. That's a pretty costly death overall, but still has a big lead. Both runners struggling with Golden Ridge so far. It is a pretty harsh chapter. One could even say it blows. Nice little extended hyper there on the cloud to get not enough height to clear it, but not enough height to actually get killed by the spike there. So very nicely done. Realtyz now going for auto scroll skip. Gets it first try of its first try. Very nicely done there. You're welcome, people. Acaroline on the second auto scrolls there. There's no skip for that unless you're the TAS, which I'm pretty sure these runners aren't. Yeah, thank you, Chuck. I agree. Oh, oop. Acaroline, they're going for a bit of a cycle skip there with the wind, but unfortunately gets a little bit of a miss dash there and dies to spikes. And it's a bit too fast that time, actually, so having to get a shovel there. There's a pretty precise thing you can do here with the bubbles to basically use the wind cycle to your advantage to get up a bit faster, but Acaroline decides to go for it safe again. And I think Realtyz has actually caught up a bit here. He's also entering these two rooms here for the harsh wind section that Caroline's now in. So, oh, accidentally dashed over the bubble. Can happen. So in this harsh wind section, you can barely move, or you can barely walk, I should say, because of course you can use speed tech. Speed tech is great to move through these rooms at a pretty good pace anyway, because when you dash, you actually don't get affected by the wind, which is very nice. I don't know, I feel like we're grasping at strawberries. That was a bit of a grasp. Or stretch, I should say. Caroline now has finished up with the, what do we call it? The snowball sections there. Didn't talk about snowballs. They like a sheer attack your vertical position and then attack you from the right with no warning. Not very nice. But those runners getting through there in a pretty good time. I think Caroline lost a bit of time there on Realtyz, ending up there with a 14:47. So we're going to take time on Realtyz when he finishes. And Caroline moving into the Mirror Temple. So Realtyz is actually just finishing about 12 seconds after what's it called? After Caroline, so gained about 40 seconds just in that ridge. So it's a pretty close race now. Very nice to see. So now we have Mirror Temple here. We have red bubbles that act like the green bubbles from Chapter 4, but move infinitely until you either dash out of them or hit a wall. We have switches in this room right here, which unlock gates. Not used too much, but have a couple of instances, so gonna mention them. There are also dash blocks, which move on a little path when you dash in the same room as them. Realtyz, they're going for a little bit of a skip here. Doing, let's see. Ooh, that was a pretty nice one. Just a hyper into bunny hop there to dash over it. I haven't actually seen people do that, so very nice there. Caroline are in the, what I like to call the dark section here. Just a couple rooms here where you have no light for some reason. There is game audio. It's just a bit low. I'm going to turn that up. Give me 1 second. I hadn't thought about that for some reason. Okay, I've turned it up a bit. Please let me know if it's still quiet, and we'll try to turn up more. Caroline now gonna meet up with the new friends, the Seekers here. So we're gonna see the first sort of enemy that, well, not the first enemy, but one of the few enemies of the game here. These Seekers can break red blocks, as you just saw there. They don't actually dash, but they do want to go after Madeline, so they will home in on both vertical and horizontal position. Ooh, that's a pretty big death there for Realtyz. That room is really punishing to die in. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I know that I know why it's dark in the gameplay sense, but it's more of the lore sense. There's not really an explanation, as far as I know. It's just dark. Where was I? Seekers that will home in on Madeline's position. Not only once, but actually when they start moving, they will keep sort of trying to home in on her. And we're going to use this to our advantage here, and they're going to pretty much force them to collect these coins for us so that we don't have to do as much work for ourselves, which is very nice of them. And now also has finished up the Seeker tutorial section. Going to move into Unraveling here, where Caroline is now in the last couple rooms of. Okay, I've turned up quite a lot. I'm gonna be a bit careful about the sound. But anyway, Acaroline now finished up with the environment section. Did that very nicely overall. And now going into search skip, reverse extend dash jump there to clear those spikes. Normally there you would have to collect 2 keys and get a red bubble to go across them, but we can save like 2 to 3 minutes there just by doing a nice little dash. Realtyz now in the middle-ish part of unraveling there. So a couple of unfortunate deaths for him has cost him a little bit. But now also moving into the end there, as Caroline is now going to go into the Theo section here in the very next room. So we're going to meet our friend Theo, who's trapped in a crystal for game reasons, for reasons. And while you carry Theo, you cannot dash, and you can only walk very slowly. But you can keep your momentum from dashes beforehand. So, for example, if you hyper dash and then grab him, you will keep the momentum and actually get a little bit of a speed boost as well. So we're going to see the runners here using a lot of both dash jumps and hypers there, dropping Theo to do a dash and then picking it up again. I don't know if anyone knows the chocolate. I think I barely remember. Well, there also search skip there with the reverse extended dash jump, so very nicely done there from both players. Caroline now in the in the last couple rooms there of the Theo section. A little bit to go still. As Realtyz now about to enter it here. Oop. And Realtyz are also entering the Theo section here. So gonna be doing Caroline has lost a little bit of time there. Caroline is struggling with that last room though. Has a pretty precise little trick there in the end to get Theo to where you want him to be. Nicely done there in second, I think it was second or third turn or something. Now entering the actual last room here with the eyeball of doom that will send out these energy pulses towards you. And you can dash to sort of reverse the backwards momentum. Can be a little bit precise though, but Acaroline still going to do that in a very good way. Finishing up with a 20-28, so I'm gonna write that down and we'll see what Realtyz is doing when he's finished up. So Caroline is going to move into reflection here. So the first thing we're going to see are feathers. Feathers allow you to fly for a little bit. You can control these omnidirectionally. And if you turn about, I think it's less than 13 degrees, you will actually keep a lot of speed. So using analog is usually seen as, or well, it is better than using a D-pad because it's pretty much impossible to get those tight turns otherwise. Caroline here going for lake skip. A really, really precise trick here with a couple of really precise try. Third try lake skip is incredibly good. So you can wall bounce there underneath those spikes, sort of a spike jump, as we saw in chapter 3, to get across or get up there without having to use the Kevin block. So very nicely done there from Caroline. Realtyz now also finishing up here with the Mirror Temple. Has lost some time. I think he's going to finish up here with 28, see, 21, 30. So about a 1 minute, 2 seconds behind there. So lost a bit of time in reflection. Had a couple of pretty big deaths, unfortunately. But we do have some long chapters ahead of us here, so we'll have to stay tuned to see what happens. So the Kevin blocks that I mentioned are these little face blocks, actually called crushers, that you dash into, and then they will move towards wherever you dashed until, well, as long as they can. Called Kevin blocks because of the wonderful man that does the sounds, Kevin from Power Up Audio, who was the dev on the game. So very nice of him to provide us with a nice little meme and a nice little block. And Acaroline here starting up with the hollow section. So we're going to see some fork paths there, but as with most games with fork paths, we will see that runners probably doing these same rooms here. There is one or two that's sort of semi-debated, which is faster RTA. I think it's mostly the last one where technically the one of the routes should save like 3 seconds, but I think a majority of runners still go the other way because it's pretty precise to do the optimal route for that room, and it doesn't really save time if you don't do it optimally. And Realtyz now also gonna enter the hollow section here after this little Kevin ride. Oh, we're also going for a little skip there by getting to that crumbling block before. But, oh no! So the first, he actually didn't grab onto the block, so he got crushed. The second time, he accidentally ended up on the other side of the Kevin block, so gets a third try. That's a pretty precise trick too. So nice to see him do it anyway. Now we have Caroline here starting to chase after Badeline. So we have now turned the tables from Chapter 2. We are about to chase Badeline down and confront her for chasing after us in Chapter 2. Nice little skip there between the spikes. I actually missed that save. Whoops. Can someone clip that? That would be lovely. Caroline now on the last Kevin block here before the actual Badeline fight. Gonna see if she's not gonna go for the Badeline boost, looks like. But still gonna go for a nice little speed up there to get into the fight. So the Badeline fight here is basically just a bunch of optimized movement, not really any new mechanics. But the sort of mechanic with Badeline is that when you hit her, you actually do get your dash back. So usually the runners want to use that to get to the ground to be able to use hypers, dash jumps, and whatnot. Since it is a lot faster than moving in the air, and we do not need to go very fast here to punch Badeline before she does too many bad things to us. Having an unfortunate run in there with a block that was falling, so a little bit of death, not too bad. Moving on. Realtyz here in the last couple rooms there of the hollow section, so also pretty soon gonna be joining for the Badeline fight. Wait, what? What do you mean in the war? Not quite sure. What do you mean? Nevertheless, Caroline now in about the middle here of the first part of the Badeline fight. Meanwhile, Realtyz having a bit of run-in with the spikes there, but is moving through. Hopefully the second timer. That's a bit. You don't have to call me the voice of anything. I just like talking about things. I think I've done like, I don't know, 10, 15 out of the like 100 plus. So you've been just tuning in at the wrong times, I guess. Realtyz now also going into the little spike section here for the Badeline fight. Note, Fansaban, you are noticed. Meanwhile, Caroline is noticing Badeline very heavily and going into the second segment here in this room. So now in the second, thanks guys. At the second part here of the Caroline fight, or of the Badeline fight, sorry. Fuck, god damn it. In the second part of the Badeline fight, Caroline here will have to, no, Badeline will start moving the ground around her. Talking is hard. Badeline starts moving the ground around her, turns ultimate evil. So we also have to care about the moving platforms that she now can control. Realtyz there had a bit of trouble there with that spike room, it seems, and is now about to enter the Badeline fight, but falls off the Kevin block. Caroline now in the very last room there of the Badeline fight. Pretty long room there, so can be very punishing to die here, but Caroline finishing it up there. Very, very solid reflection overall. Just a couple of deaths in the Badeline section, but not too many mistakes at all. So very well done from Caroline here, as she is now doing the final ascent here with her second dash that she now has earned. Let me check the save real quick. Hopefully nothing crazy happens in the meantime. Wow, that Caroline save was ridiculous. Okay. Yeah, just 4 deaths for reflection. That's incredibly solid. It's one of the steps that can have some really punishing deaths. So if you get a low amount of deaths, it's basically always a time save. And Caroline now has moved into the summit. So the final chapter here is the summit, which is going to be sort of a recollection here of all the chapters that we've seen so far. Starting off here with the reflection-esque chapter. It's sort of reflection, not quite reflection, but it has blue spikes, so calling it reflection anyway. Even though the ones in reflection are pink. I make sense. Realtyz is now about to, I believe, well, actually, has a couple rooms left there before the second part. Meanwhile, Caroline is blazing through that first 0 meter, or the first 500 meters, I guess, the 0 meter section of Summit. And going to be moving here into 500 meters, which is the Forsaken City. So one thing I actually didn't talk about at all is there are zippers in this game that move upon paths. But the reason I didn't talk about them is because we can actually skip most of them in the first chapter, especially with some nice little speed tech. But we have to use, especially this one, we have to use for some height, and a couple ones later we also have to use, because there's simply no way to do it without them, this room as well. So they will actually be used for once, which I bet they feel really good about. Realtyz going into the second part of the battle fight here. And Caroline is going to be finishing up here with the 500 meter section going into 1,000 meters, which is my second favorite part to watch. So, yay for that. Zippers move on the path, or move on their path, when you grab onto them or climb on top of them. They are very cool. Caroline with a pretty precise little trick here to skip using a spring. If you actually get too low, you can still enter the dream block, but actually die when you get out of it for some weird reason. But luckily it didn't happen to Caroline there, as far as I know. Realtyz is now finished up with what's it called? With the battle line fight, and it's going to be moving up here towards the summit together with Caroline. I completely agree with you there, DS Gamer. And Caroline now is finished up with 1,000 meters, as Realtyz is just about to finish up here with the reflection and going into the summit overall. Now Caroline is here in the 1,500 meter section, usually seen as the hardest of the run here. Has a lot of really tight cycles, a huge amount of dust bunnies absolutely everywhere. Apparently Oshiro, the manager, didn't keep the hotel clean after we left, which is a bit unfortunate. Realtyz now also started up with the CMR section there, so he's about 3 minutes behind at this point, so it's gonna be pretty hard for him to catch up to Caroline, but we'll see what happens. Takes a bit of time to make sure it doesn't die, and it gets through that long room. In the last couple rooms there of the 1,500 meter section, Realtyz in the last room now of the 500 meter section. So going to be moving up to 1,000. Meanwhile, Caroline going to go to 2,000. So 2,000 meter is the Golden Ridge section here. So we're going to see the return of the green bubbles, the wind, the clouds, and my favorite thing, the snowballs. Oh, Caroline having a bit of trouble there with those spikes, not quite getting what she wants there. Yeah, gets through though, very nicely done there. And let's see, oh yeah, right, first. So, snowball room here, pretty long room overall, but so it can be a bit punishing here. Let's see what kind of strategy Caroline goes for. It goes for the bottom right first and then the top right there. bit safer there, so probably respectable. Double bottom is the fastest there. Oh, Caroline there going for the auto scroll skip. Gets it first try very nicely now. Hold your breath for the wall bounce. Misses the wall bounce. Has to reset. That's pretty unfortunate. Let's see this time. There we go. Second try easy every time. Nicely done there from Caroline. Realtyz now in the 2K section here. Or 1K, sorry. Caroline here in the second auto scroll skipper. Or not, no, auto scroller. Not skip there. So has a couple rooms left here to go for before 2500. So there's a little like a little corner beneath the bigger wall. So by dashing up there, you get sort of enough distance from the first wall bounce that you just fly away from the wall, so you can actually clear it. Yeah, as Blue said, there's a tile wall there that you bounce on, so it is a pretty precise one. It can be just as hard, if not harder, than the actual auto scroll skip there. So. And now Caroline finished up there with 2K going into 2500, which is my personal favorite to watch because there's a whole bunch of really cool skips and strats in almost every room here to save time just about everywhere. Realtyz is finished up there with 1K and going into 1500 meters. See Caroline here going for a key skip, a couple of pretty precise jumps there. Very nice the first try. That is also pretty precise, so very well done. Yeah, there's no spikes there, Chocolate. It's just a wall bounce on the wall. Realtyz now the first of the long rooms here in 1500. Meanwhile, Caroline going for the safe strat there. Let's see. Door skip. Oh, accidentally jumps to the spikes there. Goes for it again though. Gets the first one. And gets through door skip second try. Very nicely done there by Caroline. That saves a whole second. And it's not worth doing usually. But it's a good meme and a pretty nice skip. So very nicely done. And very nice of Caroline to do that for us. Realtyz now in finish up with the first long room going into the second here. Let's see. He's going for the ultra strat. Nope. Never mind. I didn't say anything. Still a very nice strat there to get through the room in a very nice timing without the ultra. So good job there, Realtyz. But as he gets through that, Caroline now going into 3K. So we have 30 flags here, or count now from 30, to get to the very top of the mountain. And first obstacle in our way is downwards wind. So it's going to push us down, give us high gravity, lower jumps, less flow time, all the bad stuff that we don't want. So we're going to see Caroline and then later Realtyz using wall bounces a bunch to get through the section in a fast way, even with the downdraft. And it's also a very vertical little sub-chapter, I guess. So having to use you pretty much have to use wall bounces a lot here to get through it in a fairly quick way. Realtyz is now finished up with 1500 going into 2K. And Caroline moving very swiftly through that downdraft section, now going into the updraft section. So the wind is now opposite, so we're going to have lower gravity, higher jumps, more flow time, all the good stuff. But the upwards wind can also sort of work against us because it makes these a couple of checkpoints especially a whole bunch more punishing than it would be because we have to take a lot more time to actually get through them. Yeah, it's Caroline here having a bit of trouble here with this checkpoint. So there's like 2 to 3 checkpoints that can be pretty hard. This is the first one. Nicely done there. So 14 and 13 especially can be really punishing. They take a lot of time to get through because of the updraft. And then they have some pretty precise things in the end. 14 here has pretty precise stamina management. It's very easy to run out of stamina there. And for flag 13, there's these key collecting here, which is semi-precise if you want to do it fast. And it has a fairly precise dash there in the very end of that pretty long checkpoint. But Caroline getting through there on the first try, no problem. Oops, small death there. But he's moving on to flag 12. Realtyz now in the second auto score there, about to finish up with 2K and go into 2500. But seeing as how Caroline is pretty far ahead at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and call this race. It is looking like Caroline is gonna take this victory over Realtyz. Gonna have flag 9, gonna skip flag 8 as is tradition, and onwards here to the no wind, very last section here of the summit. And Realtyz now finishing up 2K, going into 2500 here in just a couple of bad line upward boosts, whatever you want to call them. There we go. And Caroline there on the 6th flag, coming up on the final 5 here. Is gonna miss PB by a little bit, but it's still gonna, or it's looking like it's gonna be a very, very solid time from Caroline. So Realtyz now starting at 2400 by missing a dash there and gets hit by spikes. Pretty unfortunate. There we go. Caroline now on the 3rd flag. Nice little jump there to save a dash. And on flag 2 now. Last flag here for Caroline. Home free as long as... well, there's a couple of pretty dumb ways to die here, but hopefully Caroline will be finishing up here with a 38-35. A very, very solid time. Congratulations to Caroline on that race. A very, very well performed race overall. Not too many big mistakes at all. So that was very cool to watch. Now let's look at Realtyz for a bit here, as he is just done with key skip, so gonna be moving into the second, or I guess second half-ish of 2500 before 3K here. Everyone's pie sucks in speedrun. You don't get any strawberries. It's sad. And Realtyz now finishing up with 2500 here, about to head into the very, very last section here. Let's see. And here we have Caroline joining us. Congratulations on that race.
Wait a moment.
Sorry?
Okay, now. Hello there.
Okay. Congratulations on that win.
Oh, thank you.
That was a pretty solid run overall from you. I didn't see too many big mistakes. You played pretty safe overall. Is there a reason that you decided to do this?
Yeah, my strats. Sorry about my English, but
Don't worry.
my strats are very safe. I need to change that because I need to optimize.
Well, there's nothing wrong with going safe in a tournament race after all. You do want to get the wins consistently, so. And, well, even if there was edge stuff, you did execute them very, very well, so it was a really, really good race to watch there.
Oh, thanks. I took many rough deaths.
There were a couple of parts that you had some. Do you like want to? Was there any particular part that you thought you had trouble with?
In Golden Ridge, a lot.
Let's see, sorry. Yeah, there were. So you had a pretty big lead out of Resort, but you did lose quite a lot of time in Ridge there. So I assumed that it went not too great. Was there like a section that went extra well for you, you think?
Can you repeat me, please?
Was there a chapter you felt went extra well for you?
Extra well. I think the first 3 chapters went too well, but then in Golden Ridge, PB died. So
yeah.
in Temple, I've got a normal pace, but in Reflection, I mean, at Summit, I sucked. I sucked a lot.
Yeah, I think you had like in the first 3 chapters, you had like 3 deaths, I think, in total, or something like that. You had a very solid run there to start. So, do you have any final words here before I let you go and kind of watch Realtyz finish here?
Just have fun. This tourney is so much fun, and eso. That. Sorry, but my English is not very good, so
No worries,
I
no
can
worries.
understand very few words.
Well, thank you for talking, and thank you for the very solid run from you there, and congratulations again.
Thanks you.
All right, so we now have Realtyz there on flag 3, so he's about to finish up here as well. Looking like it's going to be a low 44 there for him, so not sure how he feels about that. It's a couple minutes behind his PB, but he still put in a pretty good show there and had some very solid chapters. So. It's now moving into flag 1 here, so we're going to finish with a mid 44 there. Pretty solid time overall. As long as he doesn't do something dumb here on flag 1. Hopefully he should be avoiding that. There we go. Finished up there with 44.33. Coming in second here, so fairly good race overall from Realtyz. A couple of mistakes here and there. Lost him some time, but pretty solid run overall. So GG's to both runners. Congrats again to Caroline. We now have a break here of about an hour before the next race. So at 3 p.m. ADT here on Speed Gaming 1, we have another race between Laurie the Bunnykins and Blue N95. So be sure to tune in for that. And then we have races pretty much all afternoon/evening on various Speed Gaming channels. So be sure to stick around for those. And I think that about wraps it up. So thank you guys very much for watching. I've been Swessy, and have a wonderful day.